Am I the jerk? Number 10. Am I the jerk if I looked at my wife and thought, why can't she just fucking stop sometimes? Throwaway account here. I've been married for 10 years, and our 2 kids, an 8-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son, are the joys of my life. Yet every morning when I wake up next to my wife, it feels like waking up next to a stranger. There was a time when we were those couples who whispered good morning kisses across the bed, who texted little hearts throughout the day, who laughed together in the grocery aisle because one of us made a ridiculous face. But that ended so gradually I barely noticed until one day I looked back and the warmth was gone. It must have been around the time she started that new job, management in a high-stakes firm, endless meetings, client dinners, weekend check-ins. I understood the pressure and offered to cook dinner, do the school drop-off, even pack her briefcase with snacks, thinking it would ease her load. But the first night she came home and I welcomed her with a glass of wine, she barely glanced up before planting herself on the couch. No smile. No thank you. Just silence and the glow of her phone screen. I swallowed the lump in my throat and sat beside her, but the couch felt miles away. Our first real fight came unannounced. We were loading the kids into the car for soccer practice, me juggling water bottles, shin guards, and my phone, when she pointed out that I double-booked our niece's birthday party with the kids' game and made a face at my flustered apology. You always mess up these things, she snapped. The words stung more because they came without heat or regret, just flat dismissal. I stood there holding the car door open, watching her clip her phone to her belt as if I wasn't even there, and I remember thinking, is this what I married? From then on, the everyday life of our household became my personal treadmill of chores and emotional labor. I prepare breakfast for 2 little voices begging for pancakes with sprinkles and a wife who barely nods while scrolling news headlines on her tablet. I pack lunches with lovingly folded notes, have a great day, sweetie. And tuck their napkins just right. Then on to school drop-off, grocery shopping, bill paying, meal prepping, a whirlwind of duties, peppered by the occasional attempt to talk to her about how I feel. But every conversation stalls at her shrug or her retort, stop being so dramatic. We used to have date nights, once every couple of weeks, dinner, a walk, maybe a movie. We laughed about passing toddlers in the park who reminded us of our own. Now, date night means she orders takeout on the couch, phone propped on her knee, while I eat alone at the table so I can help the kids with homework afterward. If I try to join her, I get "can it wait," or "I just need some space." Space has turned into permanent distance. I bought scratch-off lottery tickets once, hiding them under her plate at dinner with a little note, for a midweek surprise. She peeled the card, cursed at the small loss, tossed it aside, and said, "Better luck next time." I tried to laugh it off, but inside I felt crushed, my gesture of love reduced to a nuisance. One afternoon, our daughter came home upset because a classmate told her her mom never smiles. As she cried on my shoulder, I told her, "Don't say that. Your mom loves you." But later that night, I asked my wife gently, "Can you give her a hug? Maybe smile at her more?" She sighed, rolled her eyes, and muttered, "She's fine. Stop overthinking everything." My daughter's sobs echoed in my mind, and I lay awake wondering if my kids would one day think I was the cold parent, too. On Valentine's Day, I planned everything: breakfast, heart-shaped pancakes, a handmade card, flowers at her desk at work, our first roses since our wedding anniversary 5 years ago. She texted thanks at 10 a.m., a single tie. And didn't mention the pancakes when she came home. That night, she didn't eat with us and fell asleep on the couch. I cleaned the plates and went to bed alone. In my mind, I kept rewinding every moment. Did I do something wrong? Was the surprise too mushy? We talked about having more kids once, we dreamed of a big family. Now we can barely coordinate bedtime for the 2 we have. When we do all go out together, park picnics, weekend hikes, she stands apart, just watching. I try to engage her, point out a bird or joke about the way our son eats dirt, but she smiles weakly and turns away. I used to think it was postpartum stress after our daughter's birth or the busy season at work. But it's been years, and nothing's changed. I tried couples therapy on my own time. I sat in the waiting room, nervous, flipping through old magazines, hoping it would give me a blueprint to break through her walls. But when I asked her again, this time with our therapist present, she said she didn't believe in talking about feelings, that it was a waste of time she couldn't afford. That session ended with me in tears and her checking her watch. Then there was the weekend at my college reunion. I left her home with the kids, promising I'd call every few hours. I came back later than planned because old friends needed one last drink and goodbye. When I finally walked in, she was asleep on the couch, kids already in bed, and the house was a mess. I washed the dishes, folded laundry, tiptoed past her. At breakfast she said nothing about my absence, just "You're late." I told her I was sorry, but her apology would have felt so much better than that cold statement. I remember our honeymoon, sunrise walks on the beach, late night talks under the stars, the way her hair glowed in the moonlight. Back then, her hand fit perfectly in mine, and her laughter was a melody I'd memorized. Now, I can't remember the last time she laughed with me, not at me. I scan old photos on my phone, each one a time capsule of joy. I show them to her once, longing for a reaction. She nods and says, "You carry these things around too much." Social media is another battleground. She curates the perfect life, family selfies with matching pajamas, staged moments of bliss. I watch her craft the narrative, the smiling kids, the hashtag blessed, and post it to the world. Meanwhile, I'm scrolling through my memories, editing videos of us dancing in the kitchen, hoping to spark something real. She doesn't even ask to see them. I've started journaling my feelings in a notebook she's never read. On good days, I write about hope, about the tiny moments when she helps load the dishwasher or our son climbs into her lap. On bad days, the pages fill with anger, confusion, and that unshakable ache of being unseen. I read back, trying to remind myself it's not me, it's not that I'm unlovable, but the doubt creeps in. Worst of all is when I imagine someone else. I catch myself fantasizing about a friendly barista offering a kind word, a coworker who notices my new haircut, a neighbor who invites me in for a coffee and listens. Not because I want to cheat, God knows I love the life we built, but because I'm starving for connection. And the guilt that follows makes me hate myself for wanting it. My wife's emotional distance has become a prism through which everything is filtered. Family gatherings feel like performances. I stand by her side, smiling politely as relatives ask why we don't have more children, how we're doing, and she responds in monosyllables. I answer for both of us, and inside I burn with shame. I've started avoiding big events because I can't handle the awkward silence between us. Sometimes, though, there are cracks. A random "Are you okay?" in the morning. A shared laugh over a silly meme she sends me. Last week she actually asked if I needed help with the carpool pickup when I looked overwhelmed. It felt miraculous, like reaching land after months at sea. But the hope is dangerous. Every small kindness is followed by weeks of the same cold neglect, and I crash harder each time. My kids don't understand. They ask, "Mommy, why doesn't she hug you?" or "Daddy, why won't Mommy play with us?" and I'm left fumbling for answers. I tell them she loves them in her own way, but I wonder if I'm lying. I worry they'll think this is what marriage is and carry it into their adult lives. I'm trying to teach them compassion, communication, love, yet I can't model any of it right now. People online say, "Just leave. Life's too short." Others say, "You married her, work it out." And some judge me as selfish, weak, or too needy. But they don't see the crushing loneliness of sharing a bed with someone who turns away. They don't know the terror of wondering if the person you built your life with even remembers why they said "I do." Leaving isn't a slick solution. It would mean splitting our home into 2 rentals, doubling childcare costs, and tearing my kids' world apart. It would mean financial ruin and emotional wreckage that I can't bear to inflict on them or on myself. And so I stay, and I try, and I post these words hoping for some kindness, some wisdom, some stranger to tell me I'm not crazy for wanting to feel loved by my wife again. Am I the jerk for resenting my wife's emotional distance, for craving the basic affection that used to flow so freely between us? Am I wrong for counting the days between her smiles, for mourning a love that feels buried under a decade of silence? I don't have the answers, only this aching wish to feel seen, to feel wanted, to feel alive in my own marriage once more. Am I the jerk for confronting my girlfriend after I found some texts where she told her male friend "I love you"? I, 35 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 33 female, for a little over 3 years. Things have been mostly solid between us, at least I thought they were. But something happened recently that's been eating away at me, and now I'm not sure what to think or how to feel. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend left her phone on the couch while she was in the shower. A message popped up, and I'll admit, I glanced at it. It was from a guy I've heard her talk about before. Apparently, they've been friends since they were kids. But the message caught me off guard. It said, "Did you feel anything?" Curious, and, yeah, I know, maybe I shouldn't have looked further, I opened the thread. What I saw completely threw me. She had replied to that message saying, "Yes, it's always whenever I am with you," and just a few texts earlier, she had written "I love you." I sat there for a minute in shock. My chest felt tight. I didn't even know how to react. When she came back into the room, I told her what I saw. She got angry, not guilty, not apologetic. Angry that I looked at her messages. She said I invaded her privacy, that I was overreacting, and that she and this guy have been friends for 25 years. According to her, saying "I love you" and sharing emotional things is normal between them. I tried to keep calm, but the messages keep replaying in my head. "Did you feel anything?" "Yes, it's always whenever I am with you." What kind of friends say stuff like that? I asked her if there was ever anything romantic between them, and she said no. I asked why she would say something like that, and she brushed it off. She said I was being paranoid, that I needed to get rid of this thought that something's going on. She shut the whole conversation down and hasn't wanted to talk about it since. But I can't just flip a switch and pretend it didn't happen. I want to trust her, I really do. But her reaction only made things worse. If it was innocent, why not calmly explain it? Why get so defensive? Why not reassure me instead of making me feel like I'm crazy? To be honest, this isn't the first time something's felt off. There have been little things lately, sudden schedule changes, vague explanations, being more protective of her phone. I didn't think much of it before, but now I'm putting pieces together, and I don't like how it's starting to look. I haven't told anyone about this, and I feel like I'm spiraling inside my own head. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe people in long-term friendships talk like that. I don't know. That's why I'm here. So, am I the jerk for confronting my girlfriend about these texts? Was I wrong to feel uncomfortable with what I saw? Or am I just letting insecurity cloud my judgment?
AITA for accidentally ruining my boyfriend's birthday with a thoughtless comment? I, 25F, have been dating my boyfriend, 26M, for almost 4 years, and yesterday was his birthday. I really tried to make it special. I spent about $325 on 3 gifts tied to his hobbies, an imported Monster Hunter figure, merch from his favorite sports team, and a glass guitar slide, baked a cake from scratch, probably the best thing I've ever made, and made dinner reservations at a nice restaurant. He told me he loved the cake so much it was literally all he ate before dinner, and we started the day with coffee and cake together. We both worked that day, so I was a bit stressed when I got home, but I was excited for our dinner plans. At dinner, everything started out fine, good food, light conversation, but then I brought up tattoos we wanted. I accidentally reminded him of the time he left a family reunion to get tattoos, which ended up taking 8 hours and left me babysitting a bunch of his cousins alone. I realized immediately that was a bad topic and changed the subject, but he was clearly still upset. On the ride home and back at his apartment, he shut down. He wouldn't talk, he didn't want to be touched, and just lay in bed scrolling his phone. This morning he told me he was miserable the rest of his birthday. He said my irritability when I got home, I made a couple offhand complaints about dishes in the sink and the cat peeing on the floor, didn't help, but mostly he felt hurt that I had dredged up that tattoo story during our birthday dinner. He said all he wanted was to be happy, and I ruined his day. I know I could have chosen my words better, but I'm not the world's best conversationalist. I'm much better at grand gestures than small talk. I really did try, the gifts, the cake, the reservations. Most people in similar stories get criticized for forgetting or not putting in effort. I feel awful that a dumb comment overshadowed everything else I planned. So, am I the jerk for slipping up in conversation and ruining his birthday? How could I have handled this differently, and how can I make it up to him? Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought about these stories. Do you really think they were the jerks? Here are some other videos I highly recommend. And don't forget, you'll find a wide variety of them on my channel. See you next time.